And we get into a nice deep abandoned burrow hole and lots of webbing, but obviously this is Eglinops. This is a grass spider. This is not Latrodectus. It's a funnel weaver. There's the funnel. There's the big front porch. Basically covers the whole hole, and you'll usually see that. So where you'll see grass spiders and funnel weavers, you'll see that they have taken over any habitat that the Latrodectus would have. So when it comes to burrow holes and spiders here, Latrodectus hesperus always loses out to the funnel weaver. So even if there was a Latrodectus here, she would move on as soon as this funnel weaver or grass spider, Aglenidae, moves in, she'll move out. That's generally the theme when we see these ground burrows, abandoned ground burrows. If a Latrodectus is in there, that's great. They choose these burrows. But if there's grass spiders in the area, it always pushes the Latrodectus out. I'm not too sure why that is, but I always see that. That's the case. That's the scenario here. Here's some more grass spider webbing in here. Latrodectus is a very northerly spider, very adapted for the north. And I think maybe that harkens back through the last million years, the last, of their evolution and ice ages coming and going, driving them to adapt to the north as their expansion moved north. That high degree of glycol they build up in their tissues to withstand the wintering process of the frozen north that we have here, the extreme winters. These are all biological adaptations, physiological adaptations that they've taken on. And then, so there's something I wanted to say. So imagine going north and going up. So here in Montana, high elevations, going up is the same as going north. They're relative. Those are relative things. So you go up in elevation, that's the same as going north. Comparatively, relatively. As you go up a mountain, you get colder, vegetation gets smaller, things get more Arctic. As you go north, the same thing holds true. Vegetation kind of gets smaller, it gets colder, obviously, blah, blah, blah. So the cutoff in Montana in elevation is probably bouncing right around 4,000 or 5,000 feet. That's where we see black widows stop. You go up to a mountain. I don't know if you see the big belts in the distance. You go to a mountain and you go up in there. You see Latrodectus in the bottom canyon a little bit. But as you get up into that 4,000, 5,000 foot mark, they start to dissipate and you just don't see them anymore. Same goes for Idaho and Oregon. And it's the same scenario. That altitude and elevation thing. Remember, altitude is air pressure. Elevation is feet above sea level. But altitude is air pressure, and that can vary. Altitude can vary. And air pressure, we have to assume, plays a role in spiders' lives. High pressure cells, low pressure cells, altitude, air pressure, all of these got to play a role, right? Like I said, Idaho, it's kind of the same thing. Idaho, you could have Latrodectus down in the flats, and then as you get up into a little higher country, just a bit higher, 6,000 feet, they're gone. You get up into a caldera or something of a plateau, and Latrodectus disappears. You don't see them at all in Yellowstone. There's none in Yellowstone. As you get out into the Yellowstone calderas of the past, into Idaho, you don't see them there. And the reason is it's a little too high. So same thing in here is there. So really no sign of Latrodectus in this particular area. Some Therididae in the rocks along the banks. and that is Statota. And you often see that in these harsh areas of winter climate. You'll see that Statota does a little better, being such a small, much smaller spider than Latrodectus. They tend to be a little hardier, so you'll see them a little higher in elevation, and you'll see them in these, in the winter time, these deep snow areas that are pretty harsh. So this web really isn't showing up on the camera here, but this does not look like Theridiidae. It looks like a sheet weaver. So we'll go with that, sheet weaver. So this is a nice habitat here, you would think. It's got the great, it's not all that traditional structure that we'd see in Montana for black widow spiders or Theridiidae in general. But I'm just not seeing nothing yet. But this is lava. Basically just lava piled on top of itself throughout this basin in here. Gas pockets and air pockets in the lava. It's really interesting stuff. So as we step back from the hill here, this road here is going, you know, almost east-west. And the bank here and the hillside, this lower bank we've been inspecting, faces south. So a south-facing slope, which is always good for snakes, black widow spiders, well, and the reason being thermal regulation. South-facing, they get the majority of the sun for late autumn, early spring. The sun radiating on that south-facing slope is very important for that thermal regulation, to get them awake, get them active, both late fall, early spring. It gives them the jump on the season, or it rides them out in the season, depending on what season you're talking about. But south-facing, again, very important for Latrodectus hesperus and rattlesnakes. You know, this looks promising, and the funny thing about this is we obviously have a funnel weaver on this side. So on this side of the hole, there's a funnel weaver. I'm going to say that's Eglenopsis, Eglenidae. So a grass spider. And then on this side, we have obvious Theridiidae webbing. We have the lattice work, and down inside there, there's some gumfoot strands. So we have Theridiidae here. I don't think it's Latrodectus. I think it's Statota or something. But we have two different spiders in the same hole. I don't know if maybe the Theridiidae spider lost out to the Eglenopsis. I will almost say that's probably the case. And so the Theridiidae spider is not here no more. Another hole right next to it. Obviously, grass spider, funnel weaver, so Eglenopsis. But anywhere there's holes is our chance for Latrodectus. They need that structure. I've said it before, you know, in many of my videos, but that's very important to Latrodectus hesperus here in Montana. They won't nest in this stuff, in the grass, like some widow spiders, like the southern widow, Bishopie. Bishopie will nest in grass. And so will some of the Mactons. You know, Mactons will nest underneath ground litter and grass and debris, but Latrodectus hesperus here in Montana does not do that. And so again, an adaptation. They're a northern spider. Hesperus is up here in Montana. Variolus is also a northern spider, and you see a little bit different behavior in the northern species like Hesperus. There's some webbing here. Wherever you have a little hole, there's a chance at Latrodectus, and that is because of wintering, overwintering, and then also Ground is substantial. Grass and things moves and fluctuates, and Latrodectus hesperus doesn't like that. She likes substantial, solid structure. So holes in the ground, rock structures. This looks good here. We got, anybody see like dirt? See, this has been dug out, so I can see that that's dug out. So there's got to be a hole here. Oh yeah, there we go. There's a hole, and this, see now, this is Latrodectus. Now we have an egg sac. So we have an egg sac down inside there. It's discarded. I can see that it's on the ground. Oh, there's a couple more in there. Here, let me change cameras real quick so we can zoom in on that. We have a discarded egg sac on the ground, and then we have two more deep inside there. Those look like those are viable egg sacs, so she's brooding inside there. Very nice. So this another case where a burrow hole is chosen over anything else in here. The burrow holes being very important, not just for protection against the elements and protection against predators and such, and to have a good deep hide, but to overwinter. That deep hole, she'll be able to go back inside there and curl up, you know, and overwinter. So not only does she have biological processes, chemical biological processes like glycol in her body, the buildup of glycol in her system in the fall, and that gets her through the wintertime, that antifreeze in her tissues, but also being able to go back deep in a hole and hide and curl up. That helps her overwinter, and that is another reason why northern Latrodectus hesperus here in Montana prefer these structures over just grass or ground litter. It's just not substantial enough.